questions4dutch@gmail.com. If you have a question for the Dirty Dutchman himself, please use that email, submit it, and the best ones will make it into the script every week, and dozens of you do it every single week. I've picked the best ones, or in my opinion, the best ones, and here is the first. It says, "Hello, Dutch and James." This is from Francisco. He says, "Any good stories about teaming around the West Indies with Danny Condrey? Thanks."
Danny Condrey. He was, I forgot what his name down there was. I forgot. Dennis Condrey. It was supposed to be Dennis Condrey, and I ended up, because Dennis canceled. Yeah, I remember now. And I had Wayne Ferris, the honky tonk man, who went with me. And we used to wrestle like every 2 weeks in the West Indies. And I remember as a kid, they talk about the West Indies and the trade from the West Indies and this, that, and the other. I never knew where the West Indies was. I know where it is now. It's around Trinidad and Tobago. And I didn't know this, but it's about 10 miles. It's 2 islands. It's 10 or 15 miles off the coast of Venezuela, which is South America. So they had never seen wrestling before. So we took in the local tape from Puerto Rico. And I've talked about this before, but the fans were very dangerous. I mean, you could put up any kind of a border. That didn't mean nothing. It was almost like saying, "Come on ahead." Before the match was over, the people could actually they would come up to the edge of the ring, and they could reach in and actually touch you. That's how close they were. So you can forget trying to fight through that crowd, more or less. You better wait till your police officers get there and then walk you down, because these people they would just be as close to you as your opponent. They would just collapse in on you. And I have never been so hot in my life as I was in Trinidad. That is one hot place.
Is this temperature-wise or?
No, yes. And temperature-wise too, because it's not far from the equator. And that sun, when it came down, it would burn you up. You'd have to be very, very careful in the sun there, because you could get dehydrated and you'd have to go to the hospital. So, but the people there, they have a festival every year, like New Orleans has every year. What's that called?
Mardi Gras.
They have a Mardi Gras there. Same thing. And it's just a party time. People very friendly, and they speak with a lilt. They say, "Oh, Dutch Mantell. Oh, we love you, Dutch. And except when we hate you, we want to kill you." But I didn't want to hear that stuff. But anyway, I actually made a lot of money down there. See, when you would get paid in what they call TT money, Trinidad and Tobago money, and it's like, like play currency. So if you say you made 2,000 TT dollars, it's still dollars, but it was TT dollars. If you took it back to Puerto Rico, you'd have to exchange it at the money exchange. But you may get the true value of it. But before you leave, say it'd be worth $1,000 in U.S. money. But if you tried to cash it in there, like with the cab drivers and all this, because they do it all the time, you'd only get like $300 for it. They would rip you off. So I would always go down, and you know how I kept from exchanging my money so I could get the rate of that day? I would go to the American and Delta airline office.
Yes, yeah.
And I would lay the money down. I said, "What can this ticket get me a ticket from here, from San Juan to California and back?" And they'd figure it out. They said, "Yeah." So I'd buy the ticket. Then when I'd go back to the States, I'd cash it in. I'd get my money back in U.S. dollars.
Do you know,
That was pretty smart, I think.
yeah, because tickets back then were as good as cash, basically. You could just transfer them. I was thinking something else because I couldn't remember how you used to do it. And I was thinking, did you buy a watch? You know, like something like a big name watch or something like that you could take back with you and that would accrue in value over the years. And that'd be a good investment.
That would be.
Yeah. I want to go back on how dangerous it was. So obviously Puerto Rico and Trinidad and Tobago, and dangerous in slightly different ways then. So, but Trinidad and Tobago, were you more likely to get run-ins because the crowd was so close?
No, I did a run-in one time, and I came back and I announced to Carlos and the booker, whoever he was, that is my last effing time to do a run-in. Because they beat the shit out of me on the way in. And you can just imagine after the damage was done. And I didn't run in on a Puerto Rican guy or a American guy. I ran in. They had a wrestler named, I forgot his name now, but he was a 280-ian. And he had been in the Olympics, and he was like a god there to them. So I ran in on him. I couldn't just run in on like a regular guy. I had to run in on the guy. They just loved this guy. They beat the crap out of me on the way out. I bet I got hit 3 or 4 times in the head and in the gut. And the cops were around me too. They were reaching around and they were swinging.
You're not thinking like Jack Veneno or someone, are you?
Jack Veneno's from Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
I can't remember this guy's name. I can look it up, but look it up. If you want to pause it a second, 280-ian wrestler.
I just did. It came up as Zelina Vega, which wasn't the one I was looking for.
And that's not it.
No. So as far as danger, when I said run-in, I actually meant fans running into the ring rather than you doing a run-in, if you know what I mean. Was it more likely that fans would jump in the ring to get you?
No, they were afraid of us. They really was. I mean, they had never seen wrestling before. I remember the first, we went in this big stadium. I think it would probably hold 15,000, and it was sold out. And, you know, when you walk out, all you had to do was just lock up and the crowd would erupt. You didn't even have to do nothing. You could stand there and just give dirty looks at each other and they would pop. That's how easy they were. And I'm thinking, well, if they're that easy, and they're doing nothing, what will they do if you really lay hands on somebody they like? So you imagine they would do 5 times that, and they just get carried away. So now they were actually they were afraid of wrestlers 1-on-1, but when it's 10-on-1, then they can just beat the shit out of you.
The question actually says Danny Condrey, but he must mean Dennis Condrey, I think. So on that,
it was supposed to be Dennis Condrey.
Yeah,
it was Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah. A couple of other things I've heard stories. Maybe it was JJ Dillon I heard this story from, who told it somewhere else, and he said there was like broken glass embedded into the concrete, you know, on some of the like higher tiers to actually stop people from jumping over, and I'm sure someone smashed like a paving stone sized piece of concrete over Haku's head once. Something like that, where they were just absolutely out for blood.
Possible. I never heard that, the broken glass thing, but it's I believe it.